Yo, what's up, Studs Canal here, Bulls on Wall Street. Bros, non-bros, gigolos. Finally, a little bit of action in the QQQs on the downside at the moment. You know, we have a little bit of a failed flag pattern that's, coming to fruition. Now, is this anything that's like, some big deal breaker? It does not look like it at the moment. I didn't see anything crazy news, but the selling, it started off with, some news on AMD and China chips and stuff like that. And then it just kind of cascaded all of a sudden while AMD rebounded, oddly enough. But there was some nasty action in the markets. We needed a little bit of a pullback. Is it good that we kind of, had a failed breakout here? No, because it catches people off guard. People's feelings get hurt, right? When people get butt hurt, they get angry. But we had a lot going on. So today's video, let's go into the market indexes. Let's take a look at the rejection on Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself got rejected at 69,000. And so we had a little bit of a reversal candle. And then let's take a look at the watch list. I'm going to keep the watch list really clean today. 6-7 names, because I think if the market's going to pull back, then we want to be in just really liquid names. They're all going to kind of move together anyways. And then we got a couple earnings plays. So first of all, the QQQ is sitting right at the 20 SMA, and so you're on a little bit of support. And this zone has been, really since the run, has been a level of support, like not like necessarily on the dot. Like you can see here, we kind of broke under it. This one held, broke under it. But we kind of get into that zone and remount a little bit. And so this will be important tomorrow. We historically have kind of had 3 down days and dumped under, and that's the sign of a strong trend. Usually the 3 down day dip, when they get bought up, that's like just your classic bull market trend trading pattern, right? And so we'll see what happens tomorrow. The market had some selling today. We had an uptick in volume, and so we do got to be careful tomorrow. Most for everything we did today was on the short side, but we'll see where this goes. If we break under the 20 SMA, we may dip down for, a couple more days. Frankly, we have not tested the 50-day moving average since this run started. And so that can happen, right? And it's a good thing. It's a happy thing, because it's going to reset some charts. And we need to do that, because if we don't do that and, we just kind of keep rocketing higher, then what's going to end up happening is like kind of what happened like last summer, where like from July to November, we just sat in this huge range. And that's what happens when the markets get too extended without any kind of bigger pullbacks. And we're into that kind of thing. So welcome the bigger pullback. And we saw a little bit of things like, in terms of risk off the table, right? If you see IWM, that vaunted breakout that we've all been waiting for, that did not hold either. We were down 1%. We're sitting on the 9 EMA. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But, so far that's a failed breakout, right? And so that's not a good buenos. And, the SPY's right down into the 20-day moving average too. Now, look, the trend is still there. The 20s have been holding, and it very well could tomorrow. We have seen countless times in the last few months the market goes down 1.5%, 2%, and then it just rips back. Will that happen? You never know. We trade what we see tomorrow, and, we'll just have to be mindful of the levels and things of that nature. So let's take a look at, old Bitcoin today. You can see here, nasty little rejection candle here. And so, we're going to need a little bit of a breather in some of these crypto names for a little bit. Our bread and butter has been, playing Coinbase, Mara, CLSK, more on the short side the last few days. But, in this whole run, that's been our bread and butter. But we could really use some consolidation here. A pullback into the 20, SMA would be really, really nice. Let me get an actual chart of Bitcoin instead of this, lame, instead of this lame thing. But you can see here, hold on here, let me backfill this bad boy. All right, so you can see here, like this is a weekly chart. Right, we got rejected at some resistance here, and this is your daily chart here. And so you can see the rejection candle right into the old highs, right? And it was a big one, man, 10,000 points. Bitcoin's not very liquid, so it's very easy to get rugged, and we're into this thing. Some backing and filling here is going to be really good. If you're a Bitcoin fan, that's what you want to see, because there's a lot of these names that have been going up. Dogecoin, Shiba, Pupu are all up hundreds of percent. And so having a little bit of rest will be good. Let's watch this thing. Hopefully it pulls back into kind of the 20. or, kind of starts to zigzag around, build out a little bit of a new base, and then it attacks that high, then you probably run this straight to 100,000 or wherever it could be. Gold, dude, big breakout in gold, right? The talk had been that with Bitcoin breaking out, that the money was flowing out of Bitcoin or out of gold and into Bitcoin. And, this kind of proved it wrong. Not that there's any right or wrong, but this is just a big time breakout. So we want to see really kind of any retests of this, any kind of flagging here, a little bit of a pull, as long as it holds the structure. I think you can kind of get long this when you got to trade calls. You go like a month out or something like that, and you probably see some good action. That's what I've been eyeballing. I had a few the other day, and I sold them into the pop. I think I'm looking for a chance to reload here. But, just moral of the story, I think, is let's be cautious tomorrow. It is a big down day. Obviously Apple was getting shredded, down 3%. Google, right? So people go on Google Bart, and some pictures, they don't show enough white people, so all of a sudden everybody sold the stock. Not really sure what's going on here, right? But this thing is right on the 200-day moving average. I actually think this might be a potential long, that's setting up over here. That's what I have it on watch for. I'd love to see some kind of pullback and retest on this. I think, we might get a little bit of a flipper. But let's go into the watch list here and kind of talk about some earnings names that I'm interested in. So first of all, crowd had earnings out. You broke out the highs. I mean, this is a big bloated pig at this point. But you know what? At $80 billion market cap, dude, there's so many stocks now that are right 100, 200. So who knows where this goes, right? Now, it's up 50 points. So is it going to, might be dusted up a little bit for tomorrow, but it's not a huge float stock. Let's see if we get an opening dip on this. Like if it starts to grind down and then you get the dip and rip, that's been happening a lot in the earnings season. We'll be ready for it. I won't chase this thing up. Even if it shows an ORB pattern, I won't chase this thing up with the market acting so ganar. I'd rather do something with a little bit more range and a lower float. But let's watch this for tomorrow. I think there's going to be a play in it at some point. This APGE, man, this had some news out. Big pop, pull back into the 9 EMA. Dude, huge trend on this thing, 12 points. Only 46 million share float. So it's got, it's got some good quesos on this thing. Let's, see if we got a day two. One thing I noticed with biotech stocks too is that they are a little bit more impervious to market machinations than, like, say, tech stocks, right? If your tech stock, the QQQ goes down, everything goes down. Biotech stocks, they run on their own kind of cyclical news and, their own PRs, as most of them are kind of one-trick ponies. And so that news, right, supersedes what's happening in the general index, if you're looking at LABU or IBB or something along that end. So I like the overall look of this. I think it's got a chance. So add this APGE. AVAF, this is a drone company. It started getting some attention when the Ukraine war happened, right? They do battle drones and stuff like that. And, right, a lot of wars kind of coming into this kind of scenario. And so these guys are, right, this is a breakout to all-time highs. It's not some new company. It's been around for quite some time, but it's breaking out to highs. It's only 23 million share float. It's really in a sweet spot of market cap too, right? $3 billion, $4 billion market cap. I think this one's got a chance for tomorrow. Let's see if we get a week open on this. Maybe we get a red to green or something along that end. I do caution you on this one that it trades thin. There was a little bit of a spread on it today. I was watching it at the open. I was kind of watching this flag and stuff like that. And I was like, it's a little bit spready. It can trade a little bit thin. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You don't want to slam it with like 1,000, 2,000 shares. You got to trade it with like 500 or 800 or 200, right? And you got to scale into it a little bit too. Crowd we talked about. Old Target had a nice move off earnings. It kept up too much to have any range because it's Target, but if you look at the reaction the last time it had earnings, it gapped up and then it did grind higher for quite a few days. And so For some of you guys, this is going to be a decent trader. You don't always have to trade something that's like moving around 30-40%. For frankly, a lot of you guys that have stiff fingers can't move that fast, right? Like, if you're newer, too much excess volatility can lead to trading stress. It can lead to losses. And so trading something that's maybe a little bit more of a trender grinder can really help, your consistency. Everybody just wants to go in with the hot heat, but, sometimes a little bit of a trender grinder type of trade, that can allow you to just kind of stack chips slowly without too many, right, fugazis and shakeouts and wicks and, right, all these things that, like, get you when you're a new trader. Like, when you're a new trader, how many times, like, you put a stop loss here and it gets you and you're like, so then you move it to looser, but then it's too much risk, and, right, you're playing this song and dance, especially on these wild names. So you can stay, this might be a little bit of a trender grinder. SMC, everybody wants to know about this one, but all I can say is that every time it dips down $100-$200, it seems to be bouncing. So for those of you guys that have fast fingers that can handle the heat, there was a nice end of day run in this one. So, we'll see what's going on this. I have not been trading this since, the original uptrend. Now it's just a little too spready, a little too FOMO-y for me, but half my chat room is obsessed with this thing, so I got to keep an eye on it to make sure my boys and girls don't lose all their monies. AMD, I'm interested in this one for the specific reason that, it had the news out, the China news out, and then it kind of completely rebounded into the close. Hold on here. Into the close, it kind of rebounded up, and my charts are not kind of back and filling some of the data here, but it rebounded into the close, so we'll see how this one goes. If tech does hold, then this is, something that's really important because, it had a chance to sell off, and it held at that 200. Dude, I had this thing short so many times, man. Popped it into the bone zone, covered some, then tried to take it at the bear flag, took the loss, and then, dude, it was all over the place. We'll see tomorrow what's going on, but this is probably the most, out of all the bigger names, is probably the more bullish one. Google's at this 200-day moving average. Let's see if this catches a little bit of a bounce if we need it. If the market starts to bounce, then, we've got a sweet spot on this one. It hasn't tested the 200-day moving average since the run started in 2003, right? So this is a key level. Like if you're, if you're a big player and you need to get into some Google, right, or some type of AI name that, everything is up so much, this is the only one that's on the 200-day moving average, you can do it. Now, 200-day moving averages are notoriously tricky. Why? Because it's different than like a 9 EMA bounce or something like that where you have a primary uptrend. The short-term trend on this is down, and the intermediate-term trend is down, and the mid-term trend is down, right? It's only the long-term trend is up. So, you have cross currents, right? You have differing things that are happening in terms of your trend and your timelines. And so, right, you don't have time frame alignment. And when you don't have time frame alignment, you don't have easy trades. And so 200-day bounces are great when they work, but they do take a little bit of massaging the balls. You got to really tickle the ivories on those things to get it going. I remember when Apple was doing it, it was like, in hindsight, like this one over here, in hindsight, it looks so easy, but like, for those 2 days, I was trying to fucking bounce this thing, right? Like, it wasn't doing anything, and then the third day when it went, it gapped up, and so then I was too far away from, the 200-day moving average. I had it for a swing, I had to chase it up as a day trade, and, so on and so forth, and so that's something to kind of keep in mind of. They're never as linear, but they're there, so I like this one. Let's see what goes on for tomorrow. OCTA, nice push into the close here. You've got, this is an earnings play. You've got a spot here at 110. In Apple, so, everybody's been talking about Apple. If it gaps down big tomorrow, I think, longer term, this thing is a big rollover pattern. It's topped out a long time ago. Now, but if it gaps down into this 166, 167, I think we long it. I think we long it for a quick flip, and then we see what's up. VKTX is one of those biotech stocks I told you is kind of a little bit impervious. Let's see. It may need to tighten up here, but you're getting into some nice spots over there that I like. Guys, if we need to fade tomorrow, right? If we need to fade, because the QQQ is doing X, Y, Z, AMD and NVIDIA are still holding up. They're notoriously hard to shred, right? But you can kind of see like Meta here is like a little bit of a cliffhanger. I think we can do that one. Possibly Amazon. Like you can see here a little bit of a reversal candle, and then now you're kind of testing some of your channels here. And so if those kind of break, I'm not a channel trader per se, but right, they do tend to hold like when you're in kind of a longer term like linear regression channel. If the channels start to break, you do get a subset of people kind of playing these things. And so if this breaks under 20-day, 20 SMA, I think that one's got a chance. You can see on the weekly too, it's a little bit extended. These big ones, you got to really align on multiple time frames. So I like to check it, a look at the hourly, the 15-minute, and then we'll see kind of what's going on. But you can see here, this is the cliff on the 15-minute, so like you can see this middle finger, right? It looks like a little nub, right? It may need to like just spike up a little bit to like 175 and then watch for the little bit of a rollover, and then we'll see like what's going on. Microsoft was all sorts of nasty. Microsoft was all sorts of nasty today. So this has got a date with the 250 SMA. If it gaps up tomorrow, like say this thing gaps up, right, and say it gaps up a little bit, we'll watch, and the market itself is getting heavy, then this one actually had a decent amount of movement in. It usually doesn't move that much. We'll take this bad boy down and see like what's going on. I think that one's got a chance. And then, they all kind of look the same. So moral of the story is if we get a big gap down, we'll try to long, Apple or Google, for a little bit of a rubber band play. If we need to fade, I think we go with Microsoft. And, beyond that, I think we've got all sorts of these earnings plays that are going to be just pretty much chilling. So you got AVAV and, Crowd and some of these things. So let's go do the Lord's work, man. Today was hot, man. We had some damn crushers, and dude, I had the puts on I always piker, then puts on the Mara and CLSK. Dude, there was so much action going on, right? So much. I took the CLSK and the green to red, and dude, you got we can't ask for anything more. Up, down, all around we go, right? So let's go have some fun. Be safe tomorrow. Remember, market may go up, may go down. Don't really know. We'll see how we open up, and we'll start drawing out our levels in the pre-market piece.